Now that you've been introduced to how to make a web page using HTML and CSS, let's address a question that often arises for those with even a little experience in web design. Why would you want to learn HTML and CSS when there's so many awesome, relatively easy to use visual web editors out there like Dreamweaver that don't require a knowledge of HTML or CSS? For those of you who aren't familiar with visual web editors like Dreamweaver, they're computer programs that let you design your web page with little to no knowledge of HTML or CSS. You design them visually on your computer using your mouse and keyboard so that what you see on your computer monitor is what you get on your website. That's why they're often called what you see is what you get web editors, or WYSIWG web editors for short. As you create your web page, these editors generate HTML and CSS code behind the scenes for you. They are an efficient and user-friendly method of making websites since anybody can create websites with these tools. No technical knowledge is needed. And many people use them to build websites like this one for personal or even commercial use. However, if you plan to design websites as a profession, then it's probably a good idea to learn about the HTML and CSS behind the scenes, seen here. It may look confusing, but knowing how to tweak the code so it renders the page features and formats your clients require is critical. Knowing HTML and CSS will allow you to more effectively use your web editor since you'll know what sort of underlying code is needed to create a particular result. Let's take a look at a popular visual web editor, Dreamweaver, and see a couple of examples that could bring your project to a halt if you don't know how to address them in the code. When using Dreamweaver, you can choose to use multiple modes. The design mode is the one most commonly used by those with little to no knowledge of HTML and CSS. The split mode shows the design as well as the code, and the code, of course, is just code. You'll notice that there's no formatting, no bolding, no colors in any of the text. In order to do that, you can simply use Dreamweaver's default headings, heading styles. There's a heading style, and subheading styles. These are defaulted. You might even choose to make these a list. Ordered or unordered, it doesn't really matter. And when you save it and view it in the browser, it'll look like this. You might notice some spacing issues you might want to address. So you go in and you think, well, I'll just put my cursor down here, just like a word processor. Oh, except it's still trying to insert the listing feature in there. Try to backspace over it like you would in a word processor, and it doesn't work. So you would have to know, but you'd go to the split design, and go in front of the listing feature for number 2. You'd have to know what to type in to create a space there. You could do the same here. And you could even create that spacing between pictures. And create a few more spaces. See how it renders? And we're still missing a little color. Let's give some color to the title. If you know about the drop-down menus, or if you've searched through them and you've seen the color, you might think, oh, I'll format the color. That should be easy. Looks familiar. But you might not know that Dreamweaver will force you to make a new CSS rule in order to accommodate that color choice. You'll have to know from the drop-down menu what to choose. In this case, you choose class. You'd also have to know that a selector name has to be a letter, and there can be no spacing. It has to start with a letter, by the way. You could actually put a number at the end if you wanted to, or even in the middle, just not at the beginning. And it would render the way you want it to. That's why you need to know HTML and CSS if you want to design web pages. A little time dedicated now will save a lot of frustration later.